And then,
oh, thanks, Susan. Just while we're waiting to see if anyone else comes on, if there's any questions you have tonight, just pop them in this chat. And while Judy's talking, I'll try and answer them. But if I think it'd be beneficial for everyone to hear, then I'll make sure Judy answers it so we can all hear. I'm Jen Camilleri, by the way. Sorry. Sorry.
It's like 5 minutes. All right. So it's 6:35. We might make a start just because I'm aware that everyone probably has other things to do. I've got our video on briefly just to show you. So I'm Judy Nash, the Training and Education Coordinator. So although it says Nikki Cook, it's just because it's her account. So I'm the one presenting. And Jen Camilleri, who's the person to my right, is another Netball Vic employee. And she'll answer the questions that you put in the chat function and let us know if we need anything to stop and go over anything. This process, this session I'm going to do will be pretty much exactly what I would do if we were doing it face-to-face. So hopefully it's fairly straightforward and easy to follow. And the resources we'll be covering, I'll show you where you can find those at the end. So I'm going to stop our video just so you can't see us. Please let us know ASAP if you cannot hear me, just because I can't tell if you can't hear me because I've got you all muted so that it doesn't give us any rebound effect. So please do let Jen know via chat if you can't hear us. Alrighty. So I'm just going to start off with a really basic slideshow just to give you a sort of an overview of what My Netball can do. I know we've got sort of a combination of clubs and associations, so I just sort of thought I'll give you a really basic overview just so you have an understanding of what My Netball can do for you. You may already be using it, may already know this, but you might learn a few things that will help. So if we just start here, so what does My Netball offer? My Netball offers you the ability to manage the people in your database. So you can tag people with roles of player, coaches, parents. You can do registrations. You've also got the comp management side if you're an association or league. And then you've got comp participation if you're a club under one of those associations or leagues. And this is where you can do fixturing, squad management, results entry, team nominations, all that kind of stuff. Websites. So there's every club or association or league in My Netball has access to a free website. I don't know how many of you are using that feature, but it is available to us. You just need to let us know what that you want the URL activated, because we don't have them all activated for you, and just let us know what you want the URL to be. So it will always be .vic.netball.com.au, but you could have your full club name or your association's acronym. It can be a combination of what you want. It is free, and to give you some ideas, examples of that website that is set up quite well, you've got Parkville. I believe Waverley Knight use it, so it shows you what you can achieve with the website, but you can also have a much more basic version that you might want. You can also contact your members through email and check SMS notifications, and there's also the ability to use push notifications into the My Netball app, but I think that's a feature that'll sort of develop over time as more people get onto the My Netball app. The participant portal, so this puts it back on the participants to manage their own identity, and so they can register for the competitions that they're playing in, they can track matches, they can do any online learning, view the ladders and the results. So it really puts it in the hands of the association, the participants, sorry, to be able to manage their own netball identity. So the RV7 interface, most of you would have noticed that the interface updated around October last year. So that was a big revamp of the look of My Netball. It is the same functionality, it's just slightly different, and it was done to try and make it a little bit more streamlined and user-friendly. What is not changing with the database upgrade was the data within the system. So if you're finding that something that you used to do is no longer able to be done, there is a good chance that it's a glitch and you need to let us know ASAP. That being said, you just need to keep in mind that Google Chrome has always been the recommended browser for My Netball, but most people were able to sort of limp through using Internet Explorer. With this new interface, I've noticed that I get a lot of phone calls from people that the website is not working at all, and most of the time they're using Internet Explorer as their browser. So if you're having issues where menu options are not coming up at all, just check that you're using Chrome before giving us a call, because it could be as simple as just changing browser. And I have been advised that Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, and Chrome will all support my Netball. And then I've been told that Safari is now what Internet Explorer used to be. So again, you can sort of limp through using Safari, but if there's something that's not working that it should, it could just be that Safari can't handle that. So try Chrome and then give us a call. So as I said, the functionality should not have changed. So if you are no longer able to do something that you were definitely able to do beforehand, just let us know, because it could be a glitch in the system and it could be affecting other people. So just shoot us an email or lodge a ticket with Interact. The improvements of the interface. So for the association that we have, so Romsey, you would notice you have 2 administration modes in the top right-hand side, and the menus across the top are all streamlined for all of you. So it should make it a bit easier to find things. They've tried to put it in a slightly more obvious way or order. And there's also a search function. So if you know the basic concept of what you're looking for, you know, participant logins, you can search for that page and actually find it, as opposed to having to troll through every single page, which is a really, really good feature. And you'll notice when you first log in, you have dynamic landing pages. So they have a little snapshot of data for your club or association, which can be handy to see, just to see what's going on with your organisation. Self-registration. So that's what we're going to go over today. Sorry, I just keep checking the chat to make sure no one's chatting. Or not, hasn't asked me any questions, because I do have a habit of going a little bit too fast. I will slow down when we go through the actual setup of things. So self-registration does mean less administrative workload for you in a long-term sense. So obviously 2018 was the first year that we made everyone do online registrations themselves. So a lot of people didn't know the process, they didn't know what their logins were, they didn't have active accounts. There's a lot of work put into fixing that. But this year, because everyone's used to the idea of logging in as self-registration, this year it should be easier, because people are getting used to the language, and the language has been the same across the state. So this year will be easier, 2020 will be even easier, and then by 2021 we won't have to do any administrative login issues, fingers crossed. Self-registration means it's me as an individual that's responsible for maintaining my own information. I can pay you as the club or associations directly, and it gives you guys more time for the funner aspects of netball administration. So dealing with the team nominations, grading, running your competitions, that kind of stuff, as opposed to getting stuck dealing with login ID issues. Help options for you. So you can see most of the pages you go through in My Netball, you'll see there's a little question mark next to the heading at the very top. That is a little pop-up menu that should provide you with some information around that area. Interact to keep that up to date. So hopefully most of them should have information now. There are probably a couple that aren't up to date yet, but most of them should. At the bottom of your home page, you've got the support and online help section, and that's where you can lodge a ticket or check out any of Interact's resources. And then the link at the bottom, that's where all my resources get uploaded. So all the manuals that I've written, they're all uploaded there. So I will go over where exactly that is just to show you at the end, but it's just handy to know that's where everything I write goes. Just to give you a breakdown of the state, so obviously Netball Victoria sit at the top, and then underneath them is sort of 200 odd leagues and associations, and then underneath each association and league there is clubs, and then under the clubs is members. So for support purposes, we're really trying to empower the clubs and associations to help their members. So if a member has a problem, they go to the club. If the club can't help them, they ask the association, and if the association can't help, or it's an issue or a glitch in the system, the association or league can then contact Netball Victoria and advise us that there's a problem that we actually need to look into. So the point of these sessions is to really try and help you guys help each other. These are the steps we'll be going over today. So obviously steps 1 and 2 are only done by leagues and associations. And then as a club, you cannot sell or create your, or you can create your member products, but you can't start to sell them until your association or league have done steps 1 and 2. And then once you've created your products, you put them on your form and communicate that to your members. And I'll go through all the steps of that. So when the interface updated, it meant that all of my resources that I had created, 40 odd resources, were all suddenly out of date. So it was a lot of work to update them into the new interface, and I've only had a chance to do some of them. And when I was doing that, I was advised that people didn't really want a big manual to have to go through. I should break it up into little quick reference guides to help with each step. But by doing that, we sort of realised that that didn't leave you guys a method to follow when you're setting this up. So that's why we've created the checklist. just to give you an order to go through things to help get ready for the new season. So this checklist, I'm just going to exit this slideshow now because it's done. So that checklist is, just to show you where it is. So the checklist is actually on the Netball Vic website under Member Services, My Netball. So that's where we are. And you'll see Prepare for 2019 is the checklist. So you can actually download that and tick off the things as you complete the items. And we'll basically go through the steps in that, working through it, and which covers all the steps for setting up your registrations. So have we got anyone else online? Do we know? Oh, there's someone else. Who's there?
We've got Trina.
Trina was from Blackburn Lake Netball Club. Cool. Hi Trina, just letting you know there's a chat function if you have any questions while we're going through this. If I do go too fast, because I do have a little bit of a habit of talking too fast, please let us know and I can slow it right down. If you haven't got the chat up, just press Alt-H and it should appear on the screen for you. Oh, Trina's raised her hand. Does that mean she's... I don't know what that means. All right, cool. So
I'm just waiting.
Yeah, cool. Hi. All right, so I'm just going, so I've logged into the administrative side of My Netball. So you can see here, if it's blue and white, it is the administrative side. If it is orange, black and white, so it looks more like this page, this is the participant side of things. So obviously the administrators set up everything and the participants purchase it. So walking through the checklist, step 1 is updating your organisation's details. And there's a quick reference guide around this called quick organisation details. So this is just something we would encourage you to get into the habit of updating each year, or at least checking each year. And it's just to keep the information that's in the My Netball database as up to date as possible for your club or league or association. Because if someone wants to join a club or association in your area and your details are not correct and they can't get in touch with you, you could lose that participant. So just getting into the habit of checking this each year is a good thing. Realistically, it's not going to change a huge amount because most associations don't completely change address unless something catastrophic has happened. Clubs might move a little bit more just because of the space available to you, but it's fairly quick to check. You can be under participation or management, so it's the same step whether you're an association, league or a club. And you just want to click on organisation and you'll see organisation details. And then all you want to do is just make sure that all this information here is up to date. You cannot change your organisation type, your organisation name or short name. They're all set by Netball Vic when we set you up in the system, but you can update any of the other options you've got there. So you want to make sure that the contact details particularly are up to date, because it means if someone is searching in My Netball and they search for Test Netball Victoria, they know that Deb Martin's the person to call. So it just means that you are as available and findable as possible to all of your associations and leagues. So step 2 in the checklist is manage your IT users. So again, this is something that we would encourage you to get into the habit of doing once a year. The start of the year when you're setting up for the New Year's registrations is always a good option, but you might want to marry this up so it's done after your AGMs, for example, where you have a changeover of committee. So every individual should have their own IT login to My Netball. You shouldn't be sharing one. Now, I know there are a lot of clubs out there that share it because it's just that's the way you were set up. But as we get the education out there about the fact and the reason why you should have your own, we're starting to get that sorted out. So the big reason for having your own login ID is that if something goes wrong or something happens that shouldn't happen, we can actually track who was in at that time. And it also means that if I leave the committee or leave the club, you can actually delete my access. Whereas if you're sharing an account, I can still access that long after I have moved on, which is not a good thing. So to do that, again, it's under participation and management, and you want to click on organisation, and you'll see there's user list. So you just want to go through this and you want to clean it up once a year, we would recommend, but obviously you can do it more frequently or less, but we would recommend once a year just to look at it, because Karen might have left the committee and we need to remove her access and we might need to get someone else added, so we would complete an IT user agreement. So when you're cleaning this up, we actually recommend that you delete people. So you can see here, I have the option to delete user. And the reason we would recommend deleting them as opposed to locking them is because if someone calls us and they've got a locked account because they failed to log in 3 times, we might assume that they're locked because they did fail to log in 3 times as opposed to they're locked because you locked them. Whereas if they're deleted, so you can see here if I click show deleted users, you can see here it's pretty clear if I call Sandra, or if Sandra calls me, sorry, and I can see she's deleted, it's pretty clear to me she shouldn't have access. So I would then tell her you need to speak to the club or association as to why you've been deleted. So it just gives you that extra level of security and makes it really clear to us in a glance that Sandra should no longer have access to my netball. And as you can see, deleting them doesn't delete them completely. I can still see Sandra when I toggle between show deleted users. So you can see that she's still there. So if she came back to the committee next year, I can actually just reactivate her profile. One thing to keep in mind, you cannot delete the primary user. So you can see here, this little man here means principal user. They cannot be deleted. So if I needed to delete Deb, I need to make Karen principal user. So set as principal user, go, it'll refresh. Karen is now principal user, and you can see I can now delete Deb. So it's just keeping in mind, as I said, everybody should have their own login. Although you can add IT users yourselves, as clubs you should not be doing that. It should be done by your association or league. And there's an IT user agreement form that needs to be completed and submitted before you can be added. And then as a association or league, you need to submit that to Netball Victoria and we will add you. So I'll show you where those forms are at the end because they're all part of my resource library. Alrighty, so just checking, who else have we got on now? I think there was something, I thought I saw 7. Who else? Rachel, Gabby. Oh, hi, Gabby. There is a chat function. So if you have any questions, just type them in the chat feature. So if you haven't got it on your screen, you can press Alt-H and that should bring up the chat function. Alrighty. We will see. All right, so on the checklist, step 3 is ensure that the association, league, and all clubs have transitioned onto split payments. So I'm pretty sure for all of you now, you have transitioned onto split payments because it was a big project we had at the end of last year. Is it worth, Brett, do you want me to touch on what split payments is? Do you all understand what that means? Can you just type that in the chat if you want me to cover exactly what it means? Or if you're good, but I'll just show you where you can check if you've set it up. So you can see here, participation or management, so it doesn't matter if you're a club or association. What are we getting?
Okay, we're mixed at the moment. We already have it in, it's not really Rachel. We've started this year.
All right, so I'll go over what split payments is just briefly. 2018, the way it would work is I would purchase a membership, a Netball Vic membership at club level, and then the Netball Victoria would invoice your association would invoice you, you would pay the association would pay Netball Victoria. So there's a lot of double handling and unnecessary administration. So basically split payments means that no matter what level the money is at, association, league, club level, when the disbursement is hit, the button is pressed, the money actually just goes where it needs to. So if you're charging $176 membership for a senior, when the button is hit, the club will get their $100 and Netball Vic will just get their $76. So there is no more invoicing by doing split payments, which is definitely a good thing and will save a lot of work for you all. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll briefly show you where you can check whether you set it up. So under registration, you'll see there's gateway and payments. When you click on that, it drops down and you can see bank account details. So you can see here, my test Netball Victoria Association hasn't done it, but you would just enter your BSB account number, a little bit of information around who you are. You can see the principal user who entered this. You tick that you've read and agreed to the terms and conditions, and then you would update. So there is a resource on this called Gateways and Payments that you can have a look at. You will get a verification email that will come through before your first payment goes into your account. And that's part of Interact's new regulations to fit with the anti-fraud documentation that came out last year. So the email will look like spam, and we've had a lot of people asking us, is it spam? You just need to do it once, and what the system is doing is verifying that you are an actual person. So it means that by making sure you are who you say you are, if something goes wrong, they know that you're responsible for it. So It's not marrying you up to any bank accounts or anything like that. It's just checking your identity to prove that you are who you say you are. And as I said, those emails do look like spam. So we do get a lot of questions, but they are legitimate. You should only have to do it once. If you have not received any funds and you have not done the verification process, just submit a ticket to Interact and ask them to send you the email again for that. Because it is going to people's spam folders, or they're assuming it is, junk mail or a scam, so they're deleting it, so they're not doing it, and you will not get any payment until you've done that step. So yeah, just if you haven't got it and you should have been receiving money and you haven't done that step, as I said, just remember to submit a ticket. And you can see if you just click on support, that'll take you to the page where you can then submit a ticket. So just keep that in mind. So then step 4 is on the checklist is open the 2019 registration period for your organisation. So this is only a step that your association or league needs to do. I believe we've got 2 associations here, so Coburg and Romsey. I will briefly go over this step just to show you and remind you how to do it, but as clubs, you do not need to know this step. One thing to keep in mind is that you cannot take registrations as a club until your association has done this step. So if you set up your products and send them to your members and they're calling you because they're getting an error saying reg period invalid, it'll be because your association or league haven't opened the 2019 registrations. And if that's the case, your first phone call should be to your association or league. Because if you call us, we're not going to open it without speaking to your league or association first, because we don't know why they haven't opened it. It could be that they don't want to think about registrations yet because they want a break. They may have thought they opened it and hadn't done it. There could be various reasons why they haven't, and we're not going to override them without speaking to them. So by you calling them and telling them, hey, did you know you haven't opened 2019, they might be surprised to hear that and they can fix it for you straight away. So I'll just touch on it briefly. I believe, I'm not sure about Romsey, but I'm pretty sure Coburg's up and running for 2019. So I'll just touch on it very briefly. So it is something that's only under management. So that's why clubs can't do this step. And you're just under registration menu and you'll see there's registration periods. So we would recommend you make any of the ones that you're not using inactive. So obviously 2018 is no longer a thing. So you would make that inactive. If your 2019 is saying it's currently inactive, you just want to click on the little pencil, which will bring up a little pop-up window where you just leave the dates as is. That's been sort of preset by us at Netball Vic. And then you want to make sure you tick active, allow inherent, and default. And then you click update. And that's all you need to do to open your registration period for 2019. So it's fairly straightforward. And as I said, it's something that only leagues and associations need to do, because when we open it at our level, we don't force it down onto everybody. Each league and association have the right to sort of do it in their own time. Because as I said, some leagues particularly may not want to think about it yet because their comp hasn't started. Some clubs, they may not have competitions until the middle of the year. There's various reasons why they may not want to do it now. So that brings us to step 5, which is update your registration types for 2019. So again, this is something that only associations and leagues do. And as a club, you cannot take registrations until this step is done. So this time of year, we get a lot of phone calls from clubs because they're saying that they've set up their products, their association or league told them that 2019 is ready to go, and the participants are getting an error that says reg period invalid or no registration settings for this reg type invalid. So if you're getting that error, call your association or league, because they may have thought they've rolled the reg types over into 2019, but it's actually quite easy to miss a tiny step, and you can alert them to it quicker than we can. Because you call us, we're going to call them. So to do that, again, you're under management and you're under registration types. So you can see here all your registration types are listed. So if I just go into, let's do the senior one. So we click the pencil. This will open the reg type. You don't need to edit any of this. You want these options all to be ticked for your senior, junior, off the court reg types. And the reason for that being is discounted secondary means if you had an association fee if I registered for season 1 and then for season 2, it would be discounted for season 2, the association fee, not the Netball fee. It's not tied into that. Discounted conversion means that again, you wouldn't be charged if you went from a off the court to a senior and there was an association fee on both of them, you wouldn't have to pay it on the second one. And then allowed duplicates just means that you can register to the association more than once for that year. So if you're an association that has 2 seasons, then you register season 1, you can then register for season 2. So that's all that means, and we would recommend that they're ticked. Your ages, you don't need to set any of those. They're preset, so as long as it matches what we have, 18 to 100, you're fine. You want to make sure the fee structure registration period here is on 2019. And then this is the step that most associations and leagues overlook because it is really not obvious. But if you do not do this step, then it will not roll over correctly. So you just have to hit this little edit button here. You can see there. And then even if you're not adding a fee in this section here, you click update and then you scroll down and click save. And that's it. Once you've done that, it'll say it's successfully saved. See? So now it has rolled over. So a lot of associations and leagues miss that little dance around the edit function because they look at it and go, I'm not adding a fee, I don't need to do that. So if you're getting clubs calling you saying the reg type is invalid, just try doing this step first before giving us a call because it's usually a really quick fix. So it's just edit, update, save. This is outlined in the resource registration types. Alrighty, have we got anyone else online? Nope, alright, I'm just going to grab a quick drink of water, hold on. Okay, so step 6 on our checklist is just communicate to your clubs that you've opened registrations for 2019. So that's fairly straightforward. You just email them or contact them in whatever capacity you do. And then if your clubs are setting up their forms, they can then set them up and send them out to their members. So moving on to step 7, which is create new online registration products. This can be done by clubs, associations, leagues. So anybody can do this. It is done under either management or participation. So I'm just going to change it to participation, but it can be done under either mode. So to create your products, you just go over here to registration and you'll see you've got product management. Now, having spoken to Netball Australia in length about this, they advise that each year or season, they recommend creating new products for each year or season. And the reason for that being is it just ties in a bit neater with reporting because you've got completely new products and there's no issues with them already having purchased that product and getting credit for discounts, that kind of thing. So one of the first things you want to do is actually make the reg types for 2018. So if we pretend this senior one is a 2018 one, you just want to make any 2018 products inactive purely because that means that you've got less in the system to work through if there's an issue. So if you see when I click show inactive products, you can see that there's a lot of products from all the testing I do. And you can imagine if a member called up and said, I've got a problem with product Y, having to look through this whole list of all the products that are on this page can be really time consuming and difficult. Whereas if I know that this page is only my active products and they call me and say they've got a problem with the senior product, it can only be this one. So by keeping it neater on the front page, it just helps you save a little bit of time, which can be handy in the long run. So if I just show you how to make this inactive, and then we will create a new product. So to make it inactive, I just click on that little pencil, and then I want to scroll down and untick this little box here, and then scroll all the way to the bottom and click update. So that's all you need to do to make your products inactive. So if we go back to management now, you can see that's gone. So to create a new product, you click on add member subscription product, and that'll bring you to this page. So the name you want to give it is something that identifies it clearly to your members. So it could be 2019 Netball. We would recommend putting the year because it just helps eliminate the human error of trying to figure out which product they need to purchase if you've got multiple. So 2019, and then in this instance, I'm only going to do a senior product, but you could have senior coach product, senior player product, whatever products you want for that. The category, this will make more sense in the next step when we go through your forms, but for most stuff you do, you want it to be a membership category, and the category is just the form template these products will appear in. So if your products are not appearing on a form that you're expecting them to, it could be because you've selected a non-corresponding category. So just double check that they're matching up. You've selected the membership template and that you've got membership category products. That'll click and make way more sense in the next step. So I'll highlight that then. The description, this can be the description of your product. It could say something along the lines of coaches only for umpires. I've seen a lot of clubs that like to put the date range of birth to make you a junior or a senior. I'm just going to put today's date. So you can put whatever you want here. It's the description of what the product is. And then you've got the price. Now for the price, this is the total cost of the product. So we're setting up a Netball Vic membership, and I need to think as a club, how much money do I want into my club bank account? So I think, okay, I want $100. So then I need to make sure that the total cost of this product is $176 because I'm creating a senior product. So $100 will come to the club and $76 will go to Netball Victoria. So I'm going to leave it as simple and not go over the advanced because that links into the family discounting, which is a feature that not a lot of you utilise. And I think I'll just, in the interest of keeping it simple, I will just stay with the simple mode, but I can always stay on a little bit later at the end and go over the advanced mode if you want to know about it. Class, so for anything involving your Netball Vic membership, it's a membership subscription registration. Saleable item is something that you want to sell. So you might be doing your, you might have a season deposit, you could have uniform items, tickets to an event, anything that's saleable that does not involve a Netball Vic membership would be a saleable item. And you can see if you click on saleable item here, you can see there's actually a lot less information required. So if I click back on membership, see how there's much more information required there. So as I said, anything involving a Netball Vic membership needs to be a membership subscription / registration. Okay, so number available, you can leave this blank and it means that you can sell an unlimited number of these items, or you could cap it. So there are some clubs out there that really just don't have the space to have unlimited registrations, so they might cap it at 10. Or you could have a commemorative hoodie or something that people purchase and you might have 5. So you would just type the total number, and that means when it gets to 5, no one will be able to purchase it again. The available to and from. So this could be the dates. You might be setting this up now, but you may not want to take registrations till the 1st of February. So you can set 1st of the 1st in the available to, and then you might want to put the available until when your season ends. So if you leave it blank, it's available straight away and will be available for ever, essentially. Or you can put very strict restrictions around when it's available for people. Active or inactive is obviously, you want that ticked because you want your product active. And then the sort order, this is the order that the product appears on your form, but you can actually change that yourself. So I would say just leave it blank. You don't need to put anything there. All good? Alrighty, so the subscription settings, anything involving a Netball Vic membership is your standard 1st of the 1st to 31st of the 12th. So you just set that there. 31st of the 12th. Now the person role is not as important as it sounds. So we get a lot of phone calls from people who call because they set it up and they got the person role wrong and someone purchased it and they've purchased an umpire veteran, for example. The role is just the way that the people are tagged in your database. So if I purchase this product, I will be tagged in your database as an umpire veteran, for example. So if you get it wrong and you set up and you've tagged it as it's a senior player product and you've put umpire veteran here, it's not the end of the world. From our point of view, a senior membership is a senior membership, whether you are senior playing or senior umpiring. As long as you've got a senior membership, Netball will consider you covered. It's just the role is how they're tagged in your database. So it is not the end of the world if you get it wrong. Do not panic. So you obviously want to try and make it as accurate as possible, but if you do get it wrong, don't panic. Alrighty, now we're down to the registration settings. So this is, I would say, the most important part of setting up your product. And the reason being, if you do not put anything here and leave this blank, like you can see, what will happen is I will purchase this product, the system will take my money and will not give me a registration because you have not told it where to register me to. So we have had parents call up who have purchased a product set up like this and they've proven they paid, $176 and they have no registration to show for it. So you just need to make sure this is something you set up correctly. So automatically register participants to, this will be the association you are registering your members to. If you play under more than one association, then you need to set up a separate set of products, one for each association. So I don't know that we've got any clubs in that phase. Oh, actually, Bond Beach is probably in that setup at the moment because you're under Chelsea and Springvale. So you would set up products to register them to, you'd have Chelsea here, and you'd also have Springvale. So you would set up a senior product that registers them to Springvale and a senior product that would register them to Chelsea. So don't select Netball Victoria in this instance. You want to select your parent organisation, which is your association or league. Once you select that, you can see it's taken us back to the top of the page. So we scroll back down. You can see the reg period is now populated. It's defaulted to 2019 because it's the only one we have active. And then you select your registration type. So you can see here, I'm doing a senior, so I select senior registration type. It has bumped us back up to the top of the page. So you can see here, this is a good chance. You've got this new section here that's popped up. And this is a good chance for you to double check that you are going to get the money that you are expecting into your account. So you can see here, it's telling me that the registration liability is $76 totaling here. So I need to make sure that I want $100 in my club account. I need to make sure I charge $176. So we would recommend where possible that you do combine your club fees and your Netball Vic membership, purely because it means you're capturing everybody. So if I've already purchased a membership somewhere else and I come to you and register, I still need to register and pay the $100, but I do not have to pay for the second Netball Vic membership. If you set up your club fees as saleable items, that makes them optional. And if you give people the option not to pay, they will try and not pay. So you can rest assured that if you give them the option, you're going to be chasing them to make sure they pay it. Whereas if it's in one lump sum, $176 for everybody, you're capturing people that are brand new to netball for 2019, and you're also capturing those who are just registering to your club or association or league. So this here is arguably the second most important part of your product. So it says allow product pricing to be discounted if the participant qualifies for a registration discount. So what that means is discount the second Netball Vic membership. It's a very complicated way of saying something very simple. So if this is not ticked, this actually means that the participant who's registered at somewhere else, so at Springvale and District Netball Association, it means that they will be charged for a second Netball Vic membership. So you need to make sure that you tick this. If you have a parent calling saying, I've already got a Netball Vic membership and I've been charged for another one, or it's charging me, it'll be because this is not ticked on your product. So just double check that before you give us a call. Alrighty, so we've double checked that. We scroll back down, keep going down, and we get to the discounting section. Now, the general discounting, I don't really understand the point of this, because if you're going to offer a general discount, why not just charge less in the first instance? But it is an option that does work. The description discount, I actually don't know where this appears. I have tested this with words I would definitely notice coming up on a product or a form, and I can't seem to figure out where it appears. So again, it's not something that I would say you will use much, but it is there if you need it. The early discount, on the other hand, that is something that a lot of clubs around the state are using, and it's basically the early bird discount. So I might want to give you $10 off if you pay by, let's say the 1st of Feb. Oop, it's actually right now. 19. So that means that as long as I pay before that date, I will save $10 on my club fees. Keeping in mind the discount is only off the club fees, not the Netball Vic membership. That will never be discounted like that. Once you've gone through all that, you just click update. So remembering, if you navigate off this page without clicking update, all of this will be lost. So just make sure update and okay. You can see it takes you back to the top. And this is where I would recommend you just double check everything is set up the way you wanted it, because it is really easy to accidentally untick something, have your cursor in the wrong spot and tick over to some other section that you don't want to be in. So I would recommend you just scroll down, you double check the total cost that you're charging, and then make sure that we're going to get $100 in our club account. Make sure this allow product pricing is ticked. Double check that you've got these set up correctly. And then if you're not doing any of that or not changing any of it, you can just scroll back to the top, or if you've changed something, you just click update. So it's just a way to double check what you've set up and that it's going to be the way you expect it. And then you can click back to management screen, and you'll see the product we just set up is here. So you need to create a product for each item that you want to sell. So the standard ones that most organisations do are senior and junior, off the court, there's all abilities, and then you might have uniform items or season deposits, those kind of things that will be saleable items. So in this instance, I've just done the one product, but I will actually make one of the saleable items I have, which is a hoodie. I'm just going to make one of those active again, just so I can show you what that looks like to the participants when we go through that side of it. So I'm just going to untick this, or tick it, sorry, just so I can show you how it appears to the members and show you what I mean by saleable items are optional. So we just go back to management now. You can see now there's hoodie 1 and the senior membership. So that's how you set up your memberships. It's the same process whether you are a club or an association. Was there any specific questions on that? All good. Oh dear. Alrighty. So step 8 on the checklist is update your online registration sign-up form for 2019. So the advice that we offer around products is new products every year, but we've actually been advised by Netball Australia that you want to roll your form over into the new year. So you would actually just update the current form you have rather than creating a new one. And a big reason behind that is it helps eliminate any forms that you're no longer needing from being active. And it also means that if you put the link on Facebook, that link will suddenly be active for 2019 rather than having to repost the link on Facebook or other social media options. So you're still under management or participation, still under registration, and you'll see there's sign up form management here. So we click on that, and you can see here my previous sign up form is here. So we would recommend that you roll this over, which means you would hit the edit button and just update it for the new year. I'm going to create a new one just to show you how that would look. It's very quick, and I'll show you where you would jump in if you were editing it. So I'm creating a new one just for the sake of this. So I'm going to click Add New Online Registration Form. Now you can see here you select your template, and if you think back to when I said the category of your product determines the template your product will appear in, this is where I was saying it would make sense. So we had membership category products. So if I create a membership sign-up template, all those products will appear. If I created a course registration template, all my registration products will not appear on that form because it's not matching categories. So I said it would make sense. So hopefully that the penny just dropped and you went, I understand that. So it just gives you an idea. Select your template. It's default for the membership one, and most of the stuff we do is in the membership space, and then you click refresh. And this is basically where you jump in if you were editing it. Instead of entering the information for the first time, you would just update each one. So as we go through the detail of all of this, you can see I can change my form type, but I want to keep it in membership. You would update the year. So I would say put the year at the start, update. So membership sign up, and I'm going to go test NB. So make sure the form is really obvious what it's called so people know that that's what this form is for. The top description, you can put anything you want. If you do not remove please update welcome message, your form will have please update welcome message. I'll show you what that looks like, and then I'm just going to put go Dixon's just so you can see how that appears on the form. So I'm using something that will stand out. You want to make your form active. The sort order is default to 8. It links to the order the form appears on your, I think it's the website. It doesn't really matter, just leave it at 8. Then you've got disclaimers. So this disclaimer is the global disclaimer. It's the Netball Australia terms and conditions, and you have to tick that you've read and agreed to it before you can continue. And then as a club, association or league, you can actually add your own disclaimers that you can then get the participants to tick that they've read and agreed to. So I will go over how to add a disclaimer, but if you had added one, you can see this is where they would appear. So if I just select the testing one, it means that the members have to tick that they've read and agreed to whatever is written in the testing disclaimer. So examples of where clubs and associations and leagues have used that are photo consent forms, it could be agreeing to the player code of conduct. I do know of an association that set it up that all the parents consent to coaching and umpiring for the season. And as you well know, most people don't read terms and conditions, so all the parents tick yes. It's you can use that in various ways, and I will go over that. The contact name. So this is the name of the person who first created the form. So if you're rolling this over into a new year, this could be someone who's no longer at your club. So make sure this is up to date. And a big reason for that is if anyone has a problem using this form, the system will direct them to contact Judy. So if you are having problems and you're being told to contact someone who no longer exists, it can get very frustrating. And again, you might lose a participant because of it. So just make sure you update that, and that's the person they should contact. And then we scroll down and we're in our payment settings. So once you've all got your bank details on file, you want to select the MPS disbursement gateway. So you can see MPS disbursement gateway. NA just means Netball Australia. You select that. The page is just refreshed, so I scroll back down again. You can see here offline payment is automatically ticked, which is not good. Should not be automatically ticked. Untick that because you do not want to allow offline payments. There is part payments. So this part payments is a new feature that came in with the new interface. It is, I think, Interact's way at trying to address the issue of people who need payment plans. I would encourage you to read the resource I have around this that is called Part Payments, and make sure you understand the implications of this before you go ahead and recommend people or ticket, because you as an association have very little control over the part payments. So basically, when I am purchasing this as a member, I get to choose whether I pay in 2, 3 or 4 installments, and it will come out of my bank account or off my credit card on, I think it was the 20th of each month, but it's monthly. And I would argue a lot of those families that might need a payment plan probably can't afford a payment in the middle of each month, and it's probably outside their pay schedule anyway, which would cause problems. So it is an option. It is good to see that the Interact are addressing the need for payment plans, but I don't think this is quite there yet. And I will tick it just for this purposes to show you what it looks like, but I would really recommend you make sure that you understand the implications of it before you go ahead. I am also ticking offline purely because I don't want to pay. I just want to show you the registration process, so that's why I'm ticking it. We really, 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 really recommend you do not tick offline payments. Processing fee. So you need to apply the processing fee to your online payments. And it is 0.31 fixed charge with a 1.78 variable rate. So you need to make sure it looks like that. You can, I think you can actually charge more, but this is the minimum we would recommend. We are not making money off this. This is the minimum required to cover the cost of a transaction. And every online transaction has fees. These are just really obviously set out. Offline payment description, obviously we really recommend you do not use offline payments. The currency format, tax description and tax rate. I would say don't play around with these. I do know of an association that did play around with it, and their junior product for 2017 or 2018 ended up being $54,000. So I would not play around with these, just leave them as is. And then we get down to the form fields, and you can see there's personnel fields here. Now, this looks like a lot, but I am not answering these questions every time I register. These questions are what form the basis of my Netball profile. So as long as I'm logging in with my account, all of these questions will actually be automatically populated, and I don't have to answer them every time. Obviously, if I'm creating a new account, I would answer them for the first time. So you can see there are some of them are mandatory. So for example, first name is a mandatory field. It's locked. You cannot do anything about it. If we scroll down and have a look at some of the others, doesn't look like there's any. But interestingly now, they have put things around alternative emergency contacts and that kind of thing. So you can make an emergency contact mandatory if you wanted to, not mandatory. And you can also make the alternative emergency contact. So that can be handy if you're dealing with a lot of split families. So again, my Netball's not great at dealing with the split family situation, but this is at least a step in the right direction, and you can pull that information out. So then we've got other fields. Now, this is where there's a lot of data around inclusion. So you can see here it asks you where you're born, do you have any allergies, medication, that kind of stuff. Again, these are all standard questions. You answer them once, you don't have to answer them every time. But you can add any other questions you would like to yourself. So you can see here, sorry, my mouse is a bit funny. So you can see here in this available fields box, there is any number of questions I can add. Now, you as an association or club or league can add whatever other questions you want, and I'll show you how to do a custom question. So, for example, I might want to survey all the members who purchased my products and find out what's your favourite colour. So you can see I've double-clicked it, it's moved onto this side, and you can see here I can then make it a mandatory question, so they have to tell me, or it can be optional. You can also put this title here. So if we put colour preferences in this section here, this will actually group all those questions under the one heading, and I'll show you what that looks like to the participant when we get to that side. But it's just a way for you to be able to group things to explain to people why you want to know those questions. You can have a million custom questions, or you can ask none. There is no right or wrong way to do this, and I will show you how to set them all up. But it's really up to you. I've seen clubs that have about 20, and I've seen clubs that have none. So it's really whatever you want to know.
Judy, we had the question about what report you run to see those questions that you've asked.
Oh, yeah.
The transaction report.
Yes. So I will cover how to set up the custom questions and how to get the information at the end. So we will definitely touch on that once I've done this step. So once we've gone through this, I'll go through disclaimers and all the stuff you need to know around custom questions, so you can pull all that information. I just want to finish this so I can show you what the participant sees, and then I can show you how you interpret what you're getting. Alrighty. So I've added the questions I want onto my form. I then get down into my registration type products. So anything in this box on the left is not on the form. Anything in the box on the right is on the form. So obviously I want to double click and all my 2019 products will go on the right, which means they will be on the form for members to purchase. And if we scroll down, you can see it's any saleable items. So remember I did my hoodie. So if I put my hoodie on there, it's available. If I take my hoodie off, it's not available. All right. So you can add products as you need to. None of this is set in stone. If you press save now, it's not set in stone. You can add another product. You can take the hoodie off because the hoodie's not available at the moment. You can mix and match as you need to. So don't be afraid of that. Then if we scroll down, we get into the advanced settings. Now, the behavior options, you can see, now there's 3. There used to only be 2 that were automatically ticked, but now there is 3. So that's good to know. Manually approve all new registrants. So that does not do what you think it does, and we would recommend you don't tick it. Basically what it means is if I'm new to your club or association or league and I register, you have to approve my record coming into your club. So you will not be able to find me and put me on a scorecard until you have manually approved me. I will still have a registration to your club. You have not stopped me getting a registration. You are just stopping access to my profile, which a lot of people tick this thinking they can control the number of people registering to their club or association or league, which they cannot. And then they forget they've ticked this and they call us because they can't find a whole bunch of new players in the system, and it'll be because they haven't actually approved them. So we would really recommend don't tick that for those reasons. Create logins for new registrants. So you can see that's fairly obvious. It just means if, for example, a parent is registering a child for the first time ever, so they're a kid who's never played, you would just complete the registration process, which would create a profile for them. Omit pay by credit card information from offline payments, fairly self-explanatory. Display payment split information if possible. I would recommend not ticking this purely because your members don't really need to see where exactly the money's going, and it could cause more problems than it solves, because once they start seeing things, they might question it and you get phone calls. So they just need to know what the total amount they're paying is, and that $76 is Netball Vic. So you can tick it if you want, it's not the end of the world, but we would recommend not. Allow sign-ups on behalf of family members. Ticking this actually doesn't change much, because if I have a linked account, I can still sign up my children by logging in through the linked account. So it actually doesn't change much, tick it or untick it. As long as they're linked, it's the same thing. And allow no team preference. I actually have no idea what that means, so I haven't actually tested that. I would recommend don't tick it because it probably will cause problems. Oh, untick it. Syndication options. So this is only relevant if you are an association or league. And that's because what it means, so the standard one that they would tick is syndicate to affiliated clubs. And that means that if I log in, because you're setting the form up at association or league level, I would log into the form and I would select my club in the drop-down list at the top, which would register me to that club. So obviously, if you're doing this at club level, I'm using your form and I'm registering to you. This is not an option you need to worry about. But I know a lot of leagues tend to hold the forms at their level, so that's why these options are here. And then we click Save and OK, and that is our form created. So if we just go back to management, one step, you'll see that the form we set up today is right here. So then step 8 on the checklist is communicate your online registration link. So that is, you can tell your members that registrations are open and they need to access the link. You can email them the link directly if you would like to. If you go back in now and edit your form, so if we click edit and scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see now you've got various social media sharing options. So Facebook, I know a lot of clubs and associations and leagues like to use Facebook. You can apparently use Twitter. I've never actually seen anyone on Twitter trolling for a My Netball registration, but you never know. Google Bookmarks, LinkedIn, which again, I've never seen it on LinkedIn, but it's a changing world, so it could be there soon. And you can email it to people. The other way that people can access your form, and that's good to keep in mind, is they can access it through their My Netball profiles. So if I have been a part of your club before, you can tell me to go to my Netball profile. So you can see I'm logging in as a participant now. So log in. Hopefully my password is correct. So I've logged in as a participant. I make sure that the organisation at the top is the club I'm trying to register to. So I want to make sure it's you. So in this instance, I'm using Test Netball Victoria. You can see I click on Test Netball Victoria. The page refreshes. And you can see if I scroll to the bottom, this is the form we just set up. See, 2019 Senior Test Sign Up. If we just click back into this screen and I go back, you'll see that form is what we just set up. So you can see the 2 forms I've got active for my association, I can access here. So this is partly why we would say 1 form each year, because I can access both active forms. And if you've got things active on the senior one, but you're wanting people to use the senior 29 or the 2019 one, the clearer you can make it to your members, the less human error will come into this. So I can click on this and I can log in and register. One thing to keep in mind with this, logging into and accessing the form through the My Netball profile on the desktop, is this only works if I have been part of your club in the past. So if I have never registered to you before and I am new to your club, association or league, this will not work. What I would actually recommend you tell your participants to do if you're not emailing them a link directly is go to the My Netball app. So the My Netball app updated probably around June last year. It was pretty awful before then, and then they've updated it quite a bit and made it a little less clunky. And one of the really, really good features with it now is you can actually register through the app. So I would go, if I'm new to the area and I'm registering to Test Netball Victoria, I can open the app, I can type in Test Netball Victoria, I can click on that and I can see the 2 forms they have. Unfortunately, I can't show you what that looks like, but trust me, it definitely works. And they've now got it, when you click on that registration link, it actually takes you straight to the form. You no longer have to log in. So you only have to log into the app once and then you're logged into all the forms. So it hopefully will help eliminate some of those duplicate accounts that keep occurring as well. So it's definitely, I highly recommend the My Netball app. So now we've done all the processes of setting up for 2019 registrations. What I'm going to go over now is what the participant sees, just so you can see how it looks to them. And we'll go through the steps for that. So 1 second. So you can see I've clicked on the link. It's clearly telling me the association I'm registering to. It's clearly telling me what the form is called. I'm already logged in, which is why it's telling me Test MV, but I will deal with that in a second. Now you can see the welcome message. Remember I said if you don't remove, please update a welcome message. It will stay on your form. And then I had Go Vixen. So you can see you can put whatever you want here, club logos, club history. You can go to town and put what you need to. For those of you who do Netset Go, you would notice they put the Netset Go logo, that kind of stuff. Then you've got your registration products. So this is what the product was called, the bold bit. And then this is the description of the product. Same with the hoodie, the bold bit's what it's called. If there was a description, that would appear there, and it tells you various payment things. And then you want to click Get Started. Now, the number of people we have that call us because they click on the link and they get to this page, and then they call us and say there's nowhere for me to go. They just need to scroll to the bottom and click Get Started. So once you've done that, it'll ask you to log in this instance. So I'm just going to log in with my test account. All right, so I've logged in. So you can see here it's telling me who I logged in. You can see these are all the people I have that are linked to me, so there's quite a few. And then these are all the people I can register. So if you didn't tick that allow sign-ups on behalf of family members, it would just be the one list rather than two side-by-side lists. So it's probably easier if you just have the one. You select who you're registering, and then you scroll down and click Continue. So then it gets here. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I need to do, let me just, that one and next. All right, so you can see, why does it keep telling me it's loading? Apologies for that. I just need to, I don't know why it's doing that.
That was that third box it's ticked. It creates what that means.
Well, it shouldn't, why does it keep signing in for her? All right, I'm not quite sure why this is, we've been having difficulties with this before. So let me just do that and that. It should tell you who's being registered. There we go. So I think that was just a little timeout thing, but it should, when you get to this page, it should clearly tell you who you're registering. So hopefully this will help eliminate some of the parents that accidentally register themselves, because it's clearly telling you this is a registration for Greg Test. Then you scroll here and you can see all the details of your products. So again, we do get quite a few people that click on this and call us. This is just the open means the date that your product is open. So if you have this set up to open in a week's time, when you click on it, it'll tell them when it opens and when it closes. So it actually doesn't mean much in the scheme of life, but a lot of people sort of click on it and go, oh, it doesn't work, I can't go anywhere. If you had multiple products, you need to make sure you click on the right one. So senior, junior, etc. And then you can see here, if we hover over this, this tells you why this is discounted. So Greg Test already has a senior Netball Vic membership. So you can see here it's saying it's repeated registration discount of $76 plus early discount. So $76 would take it to $100, and then I put a $10 early bird discount on it. They can also have a quick look if they click on early bird here, early bird discount before the 1st of February, $10 off. So if you have someone who's not registered anywhere else, they would have to pay $166. You would still only get $90 into the club account. Those are sort of just to show you what it looks like from this point of view. One thing to just keep in mind with your saleable items, so you can see here, I can't not purchase the registration, but I can choose a hoodie. So that's where I was saying, if you combine all your products into the one, or your fees into the one product, it's not optional. I have to pay $90 and register to your club. Whereas if you have Netball Big membership as one product and then fees as a saleable item, they're going to try and not pay. If you give people the option not to pay the full amount, they're going to try to see what happens. Again, another thing to also keep in mind, as you can see, I can't not purchase the membership. So if you were selling uniform items at the very, very start of the season, you could have it on the same form as your registrations, because they can purchase a dress and a membership. If you were not having uniform sales until later in the year, you might want to consider having a separate form just for your uniform items, because you don't want them, although it doesn't matter if they register multiple times to your club, it can get really messy if you've got people registering every time they purchase a uniform item. So they get a registration for a pair of socks, they get a registration for it just starts to get a little bit messy. So we would recommend having a separate form just for uniform if you were going to sell a lot of items. Now I'm going to select a hoodie and my membership, and then I click continue. Now this, you can see here, this is all populated based on my profile, so it's all pre-populated. I really shouldn't have to update much. This is a glitch we're aware of. Sue has been dealing with that. That is a glitch. Just please ignore that. I hope I can register, otherwise I'm going to be contact name. You can see all of this is automatically populated. Anything I want to ask around that, netball community, what are you doing, all of these. And then you can see, remember I put the column heading or the group heading of colour preferences, so then there could be a series of questions around that. You can provide an answer. Oop. So you can put, this is where you can ask custom questions. Hopefully it lets me move. So even though there's errors on the address, all those exclamation marks, I can still keep going because it's a profile that already exists. We have noticed that if we are registering a brand new person, you actually wouldn't be able to move to the next page. So it's a bit of a pain, but unfortunately it's one of those things we just have to deal with. Then you get to review your shopping cart. When I say deal with, we're dealing with it with Interact. Hopefully it'll get fixed. It shouldn't be like that forever. Review your shopping cart. So you can see here it says this is what you're purchasing and the processing fee for that, which would be a total of this. You can then double check all your details, which if they were correct on the previous page, they should be correct now, but it doesn't hurt to double check it. Keep scrolling. Then you've got the terms and conditions. So you can see here, I cannot proceed without agreeing to these terms and conditions. So if we click on this, I don't think I've got anything in here. Oh yeah, checks for testing purposes. So that's what my disclaimer is. I've read it. I then tick that I read and agreed to that and continue. Then you get to the payment section. So again, it gives you another chance to check what you're paying. So hopefully this should eliminate any of the human error. You can see it all there. Payment schedule. This here is what the part payment stuff looks like. So remembering you have no control over this, I get to choose how often I pay. So you can see here, I can choose 2, 3, or 4 payments as a participant. It is up to me. You have no control over it. If I select 4, it'll divide the money evenly into 4 amounts. The minimum payment will be the Netball Vic membership. So obviously if I didn't have a Netball Vic membership before, the minimum it would charge would be $76 for the first payment because they need to meet the registration criteria. And you can see on the 15th of every month after that, money will come out of my account. So that's why I was saying I don't think this solves the issue of people who need payment plans, because I may not be able to, if I really need a payment plan, I may not be able to afford something coming out of my account once a month. And the 15th might be way outside of my pay schedule, in which case I actually don't have any money in my account that particular time. So just keep that in mind. It is a feature, but do read the resource I wrote on that just to make sure you understand it. I'm going to go back to single payments just because for the process I'm doing. You can see if I was paying online, I enter my credit card details. I can tick pay now. I'm paying offline, so you can see here, you can choose to pay offline, the processing fee, blah, blah, blah. So you can see I'm doing this purely because I'm doing this so you can see it. I don't want to pay at this point. So submit and pay later. You can then see it'll refresh. You know, thanks, Greg, you've been accepted. This is what you paid. This is where the invoice went. This is who to contact if you have any problems. So this is why I was saying you want to keep this up to date. And then you can see this big orange button here, perform another registration. This will actually take you back and you can pick somebody else to register. So this is a really good option so parents can do one kid and then do another kid and then do another kid over and over. Alrighty. So that is self-registrations in a nutshell. That's pretty much all the processes behind it. I will go over how to add disclaimers in case any of you want to know that. I will go over custom questions so that you know how to add that if you want to, and the reporting you can use around registrations. Okay? So, starting with disclaimers. So, they can be added by associations or leagues or clubs. Anyone can have a disclaimer if they want to. You can have as many disclaimers as you want, but you can only add 1 per form. Now, your disclaimers are actually fairly straightforward. Still under registration menu, you can see here you've got disclaimers. And so I've clicked on that. You can see, remember, I had 2 disclaimers in my drop-down box. You can see here, if I click on one of them, I can edit them, I can delete them, I can add and have 50 different disclaimers. It's really up to you. I'm just going to edit this one. So remember, I just had text for testing purposes. And then I can add whatever I want. I can add images, that kind of thing. I would recommend label it so that you know what the disclaimer is for. So you might want to call it photo consent disclaimer, code of conduct, whatever you want. You can have multiple disclaimers in the one, or you can just have the one and link it elsewhere, all those kinds of things. So you can really go to town with what you want. They're really, really straightforward. Give it a title, add text, save. And then you go back and you'll see you've got your 2 disclaimers. So they're really, really straightforward. You know that if someone has got a registration, they have to tick that they agree to this. So you don't need to run any reports to see this information. It's matter of fact. They cannot have a registration without ticking these options. All right, so then we get into custom questions. So these are a little less obvious. So under people, you'll see you've got custom person fields, custom person lists. Because remembering in My Netball, a custom question is a custom field. Be handy if it was called a custom question, but it's something we can aim for in the future. You click on custom person lists, you scroll down and you can see custom fields management. You click on that and this is where you can see any custom questions that you've got that you want to ask people. These ones are inactive. So to add a new custom question, I will add a new one. So the name of the question, so this is the name of the column heading when you download this report. So you want to give it something that highlights what the question is. So it could be, so I might give it the name of chocolate and then the description is what the question is. So the question can be, do you like? So by giving it a name that's obvious, if they've answered this question, you download this report, the column heading will be chocolate, and then you know that the answer yes to that or no, any answer in that column will be to the question, do you like chocolate? So if you had a question that was, do you play any other sports, and the column name was chocolate, it could be a bit difficult to try and figure out what the question was that they're answering. So the clearer you can make it, the better. And giving it a name that relates to what the question is and will jog your memory will definitely save time. The type, so a text box is obviously a text box. They can type free text. A drop-down list, this is exactly what a drop-down list is. A radio button is where they have multiple options on the screen and they have to pick one. A checkbox is multiple options on the screen and they check a number of them or pick a number of them. Date entry, email entry, long description, number, they're all fairly self-explanatory. One thing to keep in mind with the check boxes, so even if you make this a mandatory question, the system's designed to see no answer in a checkbox as an answer, so they can actually get away with not answering the question you're asking, even if it's mandatory. So an example where that's come up before is a club I know was asking their players to select their top 2 playing preferences. And they had check boxes and they listed all 7 positions and you had to pick your top 2. Now, because the system sees no answer as an answer in the check boxes, it meant that a lot of people were skipping that question and it wasn't pulling them up on it. So what the club had to do was select radio buttons and change the question to what is your first preference of playing position, list the radio buttons and they selected one, and then what is your second preference of playing position? And same thing again, radio buttons, and they picked one. So it's just something to keep in mind when you're structuring your questions. Any of your options, you need to put a comma between it, no space. So if you do not have commas or you have spaces, you will only have one option. So again, I do know of a club that set up, do you consent to umpiring for the season? Yes, no comma, space, no. The only option was yes, and they were mandatory questions. So it's a good way to drum up volunteers if you need them, but they probably won't be super happy. Another thing I've noticed a lot of clubs and associations and leagues starting to do now, rather than putting photo consent into their disclaimers, they're actually putting this as a separate question so that people are actually checking that question. Do you consent to your image being used on Facebook? Do you consent to photos? Yes, no. And you can download that and you know that they have or have not agreed to it. Whereas the disclaimers, it's sort of, most people don't read terms and conditions these days. They just tick yes. So they might be ticking yes and actually not aware of it. And I know some of the clubs I've spoken to, their participants get quite angry when they feel they haven't been informed, even though they have. So just something to think about. Display options, don't tick either of these. I don't actually know what they mean and they're fairly irrelevant. Child orgs, this is just because if I'm setting it up at association or league level, this might be a question I want my clubs to add to the form. Ticking that means that the clubs can find it. That won't be an option at club level because you don't have anyone to force it down onto. I haven't actually tested what this sub-role section means. I would leave it as all select roles and then everybody has to answer the question. Obviously, the question needs to be active to be on your form. And then the sort order, you have to add a number. I would just put 1 and tick OK. And then done. And you can see the custom question is now down the bottom, ready to be added to any forms I want to have it on. So just to show you how you pull the information around this custom questions out of the system, you want to go to reports. And you'll see you've got a transaction report. So we click on that. You select the form that you're using. So obviously you're going to be you'll have less forms than this because I've done a lot of testing. I have a lot of test forms. But you would presumably only have the one form you've rolled over from season to season and maybe a uniform form. I have raised the fact that these forms are all inactive, yet I can still select them, which is kind of annoying because as you can see, it's a huge list. This is the form in question. If I've rolled the form over from season to season, I can just set the parameters around when I open registrations. But in this instance, I've only got one person, so I'm just going to click go. And you can see here, it gives me a snapshot of who has used my form. So Greg test, my Netball ID here, the date that he purchased his membership, the amount he paid, whether he paid or not. So keeping in mind, I had offline payments, so I have not paid. And then you can do the action. So if Greg hands me cash, I can change it to paid. Now, this report has so much more information in it than what you see on the screen. What you see here is what Interactive determined to be the most important information. But if you actually download it, so we click download and download it into Excel, you'll see that there is so much more information in this report than what you're seeing on the screen. So we've downloaded it. We're going to open the report. Okay, just ignore that. And then you can see here where they've registered. So same thing as we saw before. It's player ID, player name, a lot of this information. So these few columns here are not super relevant for you. But as you scroll to the right, you'll see first name, last name, their address, phone numbers, emergency contact information. So this is a really good report to download if you want to give your team or club coaches emergency contact list. You can download that. You can see it all listed there. Again, some of these columns are not very useful, so you can see there. As we keep going across, all the inclusion information is here. And then you'll see, remember the question I asked, the name of the question was color preference. So I know that answer purple was to the question, what is your favorite color? So that's what I was saying. The name you give the form is not what the participant sees, is what you see when you download it. So just try and make sure they match up so that you don't have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, well, what question were they answering purple to? Because some people answer random things, so it could take a lot of time for you, but it's just a quick way to see that. And then the other reporting I just wanted to show you briefly was the one around tracking your payments for split payments. So let's just trying to think of a club that has payments. I'll just keep. What's a club on split payments?
Whitehorse.
All right, I'm just going to go into Whitehorse Netball Association just to show you the reporting around split payments so that you can see how you can reconcile what is coming into your bank account quite easily. So again, management or participation, it's the same thing. You click on reports. You want to look at the payment settlement report. So you can see here, the payment settlement report, you've got batch numbers. So this is handy. You can quote the batch number if there's a problem. It tells you the start date. So disbursements happen roughly Thursday afternoons. and it's for a week's worth of payment. So they hit it, say, 5 p.m. on Thursday last week. They'll hit it again 5 p.m. Thursday this week. So it'll be a week's worth of disbursement. So you've got your start date and your end date. And then you'll see settlement okay. You'll see these various statuses. This is the amount that would have come into your club bank account. So you can see here, if we look at batch 170 here, so you can see that Whitehorse Netball Association would have got a deposit of 4 cents. And the reason for that is just because they're only doing Netball Vic memberships, and it's just the rounding up of those transaction fees, they're getting 4 cents. So you can actually download this, so you can download the report and have an exact copy of what you're looking at on the screen in Excel. But if you want to know more detail around who's registered or what payments are in that batch, just click on detail here, and you'll see here, you can see exactly who paid what where. So you can see here, you know, this is the amount that was paid. And of that 170, there was nothing coming to the association because it was a Netball Vic fee and the club fee. So that's why that value is only 4 cents. But you can see here, you can see exactly how the 4 cents tallies up. And you can download that into Excel as well. So the reporting around split payments is so much better than the PIN payment setup. I'm not sure how many of you have used the PIN payment setup before. This is much, much neater. So it's definitely a good thing. Do bear with us. The batches are taking around 2 weeks to get into your bank account. So if this was dispersed on the 17th of January, you may not get the money for 2 weeks after that, purely because people are selecting this MPS gateway when they don't have their bank account details on file. And what the system does is that will hold up the whole country. So you might be owed 4 cents. So if Whitehorse had done it and they didn't have their bank account details, they might be owed 4 cents, and that 4 cents could be holding up the entire country. So as we transition on to split payments and finish that, we're finding there's a few people who are selecting it without putting it correctly, setting it up. So do bear with us. We do know that 2 weeks is not really acceptable, and we are pushing Interact to make that better. But just keep in mind that it could be 2 weeks. So if you're missing the batch, have a look at the end date, check whether it's 2 weeks from the end date, and then give us a call. So it's one of those things. If there's an issue with the amount that came into your account, so it should be less, you actually need to lodge a ticket with Interact. So we don't manage this side of it. It's all through Interact. They deal with that side of things. So again, you just got to scroll to the bottom and lodge a ticket down here. You can see support. So I think that's pretty much all I was going to go over. Was there any other topics you wanted me to touch on before we finish up, or you want more information on?
So can they receive notifications?
No, not for the split payment stuff. They're no longer emailing the reports. It's all done through here. So that's sort of, it's good and bad. Was there anything else anyone wanted to touch on? So that's comp module stuff. That's a question for another day, because this is just online registrations and I haven't sort of reviewed the comp module stuff. I'll make a note that you have some comp module questions, Rachel, and I will get your Netball Vic contact. I'm not quite sure who they are, to make contact with you tomorrow just to touch base on that. So it's not something that everyone else needs to know, because comp module stuff is not what clubs need to know. I think you might actually be in my region now that I think of it. So I will touch base with you tomorrow afternoon and send you the information that I have that might help, and we can hopefully sort that out. So hopefully that helps. What was the other question?
You can answer that one. I was going to answer.
Do I have to do anything else with that? No. So the 5-day period, it's just, if you don't need to actually transfer people unless they cannot access their record. So if I called you and I cannot access my Netball record, and I called you and I'm not part of your club database, you can transfer me into the club. but you have to wait 5 days before you can access my record and help me out. So where possible, direct the members to try and have a look and sort it out themselves. We've been putting some development time with Interact into trying to get that login part of things a little better. And I do believe, if I just go here, you can actually sign in with Facebook now. So that's, you know, there are ways we've tried to make this a little bit better for participants, because that 5-day window, you know, if I'm calling you today and you want me registered tomorrow, but I can't access my record and you can't help me for 5 days, it's not particularly helpful. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that is not looking like it's going to change anytime soon, I'm afraid.
Can you just show people where the resources are on our website? Gabby was just asking.
Yes. So, how do I get rid of? All right. So, this is the Netball Vic website. So, vic.netball.com.au. And then you've got member services, and there's My Netball. So this My Netball page is where I put anything I have My Netball, so you can see what it is, some information for administrators, the checklist, updates of any training sessions and where to get help. Resource library, this is where I update all the resources that I have. So you can see here, a lot of the resources that I've got here, I wrote these ones, and they pretty much go in the exact order I've just done today, pretty much word for word, because I wrote them and I write them how I think. And I've tried to group them under the menu item that makes most sense. So this is the part payment one. As we scroll down, I've got a couple of resources for members you can send out. So completing a self-registration process could be a good thing to send to your members to help them complete the process if they're having trouble. And you've also got the Your My Netball record. So it just gives them a bit of information about how to look after their own record. Unfortunately, I haven't had time to update the comp module resources for the new interface yet. So this competition link will just take you to Interact's resources. So you can see here, this is all the information that Interact have around competition. So it's helpful, but it's just not in my language. So if you find the way I write easier to follow, you might find this a little bit hard, but it's there if you need it. And same with the website. So we don't have an up-to-date website manual, but if you wanted to set up your website, this will get you started and then you can go from there. And just to keep scrolling, I do have 2 videos that are supposed to be uploaded any day now, and they are pretty much me sitting in a room like this talking to a TV just like this, but there's actually no one on the other end listening. They were just videos to go over, and they'll be uploaded. And this webinar will eventually, once I figure out how to download it and upload it, will get put in this space as well. And then you've got all the forms you need. So if you wanted to change your club name, you can download that form. Change your association or league name, there's a form for that. If you need to add a new club, there's a form for that, which is an online one. And then you've got your user agreements, which are here. So you can see you can download that. You need to complete that and send it to the correct entity to add as an IT user. So this is everything I create in My Netball. Any other questions? Cool. I think that's it. I don't see any other questions. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I hope it wasn't too clunky. I do apologise if it was. It's the first webinar we've done. Hopefully the first of many, because I think it's a good way to reach audience that are a bit further away. At this point, we've got people who are up in Heathcote District Football League, which is a fair way. We've got Melbourne East Netball Association. We've got a club from there, Springvale, Romsey. So, you know, we've all been able to sort of attend a session without actually having to be here, which can be quite good. So hopefully it's the first of many. But yeah, thank you very much for your time. I will let you know once this is uploaded. So give me a bit of time. It might take a little while because I'm not very sure exactly where it will be up, because it's saving to the computer somewhere and then or the cloud, and it can be difficult to get it out of the cloud. So we will see. But I will email you all once that's done. So that's all. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for your time. And no doubt I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you.